Hello everyone, my name is Kay and welcome to Midlife Crisis, the show where I talk about every major DC crossover event in chronological order. This week we are continuing our deep dive into Forever Evil, the event that we have been covering over the last few weeks. This week's video is another tie-in video where we're going to be covering a whole bunch of one-off tie-ins that the series released during the event. The first tie-in that we're going to be covering is Batman The Dark Knight, issue 23.3, written by John Layman with art by Cliff Richards. So, without further ado, let's just get straight into it. This tie-in is all about Clayface. It begins with Clayface hanging out with a group of criminals just in the Gotham sewers. They're planning to strike at a bank, but Clayface is like, actually, there's a jewelry store right here. I wanted to take a quick detour and attack the jewelry store, take all that stuff, and then we'll go to the bank. And the other criminals are like, what the hell do you think you're doing? You're not the leader here. You're just the hired muscle, so just shut up and do what we tell you to do. And Clayface is thinking to himself, oh, the last person who talked to me like that was making a big mistake. And then he proceeds to kill all of these guys brutally. He stabs a couple of them through the chest with a spear. He hits another one with a big block hand that he's created out of his body. And then he grabs one of them and uses him as a disguise. He transforms into this guy, exits the sewers, and that's when he discovers that the Justice League is supposedly dead and that the Secret Society have taken over everything. So now Gotham City is being ransacked and destroyed by criminals, and Clayface is like, oh yeah, that's awesome. So he heads to the local bar to get a drink. The bartender there is afraid of everybody in the bar because they're all criminals, so he's like, oh yeah, drink as much as you want, please don't kill me. Clayface asks for him to change the channel on the television because all it says is "This world is ours," which is the message that the crime syndicate has put on there, and the bartender's like, I'm sorry, I can't change the channel, it's just gonna be this forever. And then Clayface hears some other villains talking about the Secret Society. So, what are you talking about getting recruited by the Secret Society? How do I get recruited? And this character, White Rabbit, turns to him and says, look, if the Secret Society wanted you, you would know it. And so Clayface just goes back to drinking, and then he's like, how do I get the Secret Society to notice me enough to ask me to join them? It's then that he sees on the TV screen that there is a resistance that is trying to fight against the Secret Society, and somebody else smashes the TV, and Clayface is like, hey, why the hell did you do that? I was watching that. Turns out this is Great White Shark who broke the TV, and he explains to Clayface that it's all bullshit, there's no resistance, and that even if there was, they don't even have a chance of taking down the Secret Society because there just isn't enough of them. He himself thought of going out and attacking the resistances, but then, you know, there's free beer at this bar, so he decided not to. And Clayface thanks him for the information and then punches him in the face and knocks him out, which is pretty funny. And he heads off to the Badlands because it's said that there is supposedly a resistance base over there, and he heads there, and what he sees is pretty disappointing. It just looks like a bunch of homeless people who are all there. He's like, oh, this doesn't look like any kind of resistance. Well, at least I can blend in. And he transforms into the form that he stole earlier. He heads into the base, he asks if he can join these guys, and they're like, no, you can't, get out of here or we'll kill you. And then they go to attack him, and so Clayface fights back. He punches this guy in the face and smashes him into the ground, killing him. This other guy pulls out a gun and is like, hey, stop! And starts shooting at him, so Clayface grabs him and he's like, hey, you work here, don't you? Do you got a key card? And the guy's like, yes, I do, please let me go. And Clayface just kills the guy, takes his key card, transforms into a soldier, enters the building, and is listening to these guys putting together their plan. They're going to head out and attack the Secret Society, and Clayface at this moment decides to transform and says that he is shutting down this operation and taking leadership, and the general gets up in his face and is like, what are you doing? Are you an idiot? And he's like, no. Calling me an idiot? That was the mistake. And he attacks these guys, he kills all of them, and then he gets in contact with the Secret Society and is like, hey, you'll be happy to know I took down this resistance base. And the Secret Society are like, oh, okay, did we ask you to do that? He's like, no, but I thought it'd be a great plan, you know? I'd be able to do this, and you'd be proud of me for doing this. And turns out the Secret Society owned this resistance base. There was no resistance. They put this together as a trap, and they want Clayface to stay there and lure in superheroes to take them out, but they're not gonna let him join the Secret Society. They want him to do this for them, but they don't want him to join because he's got too much of a temper, and that's when he stops listening to them and just starts smashing everything in the base. And somehow an explosive is triggered. He's not sure if he triggered it himself or if the Secret Society triggered it, but it blows up the entire base. And a few weeks later, Clayface heads back to the bar and he's drinking his sorrows away again. And he says that even though he's made out of clay, he does feel pain. He felt the pain of that bomb for a few weeks, which I guess means that Forever Evil actually goes on for a few weeks, which would be crazy. I don't know what the timeline of Forever Evil is or how long it lasted, but this is a few weeks in the future, and it seems like the villains are still in control of everything because Clayface gets asked by some criminals if he wants to go on a job with them to get some gold, and that he will be the muscle, and he agrees to join them. So they head out into the city to go on a job, and it's kind of like Clayface is going around in circles. He's back where he started. He's going on another job, but this time he says he's got a plan that will help him gain control of Gotham one day. And that is where we leave off. Overall, I think this was a pretty decent tie-in. While it doesn't really have any of the Crime Syndicate members in it, it is fun to see a villain like Clayface trying to kiss up to the Secret Society so that they let him join, and then they don't. Though I don't get why they don't let Clayface join, but then they let that stupid monocle character guy join. Like, I know Ultraman killed that guy, but they still let him join to begin with. Green Lantern issue 23.3, written by Charles Soule, with art by Alberto Ponticelli. This is the Black Hand tie-in. We begin at the Hand Mortuary, which is where Black Hand grew up before he became a supervillain, where there are two mortuary workers just burning bodies as they're supposed to, turning them into ash. One of them starts talking about how he's feeling weird about his job these days, where he thinks that a ghost is going to come and haunt him or something, and his friend is like, bro, you can't be thinking about that on the job. That's like the number one rule of working at a place like this. Alright, we're almost done, so once we're done dumping these last ashes and burying them, we'll head off and get a beer. So they dump the ashes into this hole, and a black ring comes out of the sky, lands in the ashes, and as they're walking away from the hole, the ashes start to rise out of it, and they cover the two guys, and they scream as they are killed by this cloud of ashes, and one of the guy's arms falls off as he dies, and Black Hand is reborn, because black rings can just cause a person to be reborn out of nothing but ashes. He picks up the fallen hand, he puts it on, and then the black ring lands on his finger, and then he enters the mortuary where he's like, oh, I'm home, I recognize this place. But what was I supposed to be doing? Like, he basically has amnesia. He's slowly remembering things as he explores around. He sees a couple of cops, and he's like, hey, can you help me? I'm here, but I'm not sure why I'm here. I'm supposed to be dead right now. I'm sure I got brought back to life for a reason. And the cops are like, hey, stay away from us, because obviously this dead-looking guy with a weird-ass costume is coming at them, so they zap him with tasers and knock him out, and then they go over and they're like, alright, let's put this freak in a prison cell. So they put him in a prison cell. Black Hand wakes up next to another prisoner. I like how when he sleeps like he's in a coffin. He kind of sleeps like Dracula. This other guy in the prison cell next to him won't shut up. Black Hand tells him to stop talking because he likes the quiet, and this guy explains to Black Hand what's currently going on. The Justice League are dead, the crime syndicate have taken over the Earth, the secret society is a thing, and as this guy is yapping, he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna call out for help and see if anyone can get us out of these prison cells. Black Hand uses his powers to kill a cockroach, because he can just kill things by touching them, and then he reanimates the cockroach and it is now under his control, and he tells it to go off and find other things, kill them, so that he can control them. So this cockroach goes off, it finds more cockroaches for him to control, they find a rat, and then eventually the rats find a cat, and so he has control of these dead rats, cats, cockroaches, and then he gains control of a dead cop. It's never explained how this cop died. I'm guessing the cop died when he touched him and to put him in the cell? I don't know, it's not really explained, but there's a dead cop for him to take control of, and he tells the cop to kill the other guy in the cell next to him because he won't shut up and he's annoying him. So the cop goes over there, kills him, that guy becomes a zombie, and Black Hand takes control of him, and then the cop frees Black Hand from the prison cell, and they leave. And as they head outside, they see that the whole city is being ravaged, and Black Hand is like, oh, did I do this? Which shows that he just wasn't listening to that guy at all, because that guy did explain what happened, and Black Hand was still like, oh, did I do this? Oh no, I don't think so. As he wanders through the city, he starts reanimating dead bodies, and he sees a whole bunch of cops, and the cops start shooting at his zombies because they're like, oh shit, it's a zombie apocalypse. We never thought this would happen, but we've trained for this. Get him in the head, get him in the major joints. And Black Hand is like begging them not to kill his zombies, and all of his zombies just get taken out. And he's like, oh no, they've killed all my zombies. There has to be something I can use. There has to be something dead that I can take control of. And then he senses that one of the cops recently got a vaccine, so he can feel a dead virus still in his body, and he takes control of the dead virus, because apparently Black Hand can do that, and he uses the virus to kill the guy, and then turn him into a zombie, and then use the zombie to turn against the cops and take them all out. So the cops are overrun by zombies, they all die. Meanwhile, Black Hand just heads off to a graveyard, Shady Vale. He's like, okay, this is the place that I'm supposed to come to. He sees a gravestone with Martin Jordan on it, because this entire issue, he's been getting like little glimpses of rings in his brain, and he's not sure what it means, like different colored rings. He's like, oh, what's that about? He touches Martin Jordan's gravestone, and for some reason, it's not really explained, for some reason, that's what gives him back all of his memories. He touches this gravestone. I guess it's because this is kind of the beginning point of how Jordan's origin story is the death of Martin Jordan. So by touching the gravestone, he gets all of his memories back of how Jordan, the Green Lanterns, and everything they did to him. Not only that, he also brings Martin Jordan back to life as a zombie and is in control of him. And he explains to Martin that he has this new ability to just grab hands and attach them to his body, but he can't find the right hand. So he rips his hand off, throws it on the ground, and then Martin Jordan rips his own hand off and gives it to Black Hand, and Black Hand puts it on, and he's like, thank you. Now I can use your hand to kill your son. So your son will die at the hand of his own father, which is pretty messed up, and I love that detail. But he's like, until then, we're going to have to wait things out once this all blows over, and until that happens, we're just going to have to find you something to eat. And that's where that tie-in ends. This would eventually get a continuation in the main Green Lantern tie-in, in the main Green Lantern series. It turns out during the Venditti run that until the end of Forever Evil, Black Hand holds himself up in a circus and does circus performances with all of his zombies while he waits for things to blow over outside, and eventually Hal Jordan finds him, discovers that his father has been turned into a zombie, and he tries to convince Black Hand to help him take down a villain called Relic. And so Hal Jordan and Black Hand team up, and also Hal Jordan asks him to put his father back to rest, which Black Hand does. So yeah, it's a cool continuation of that. If you're ever interested in seeing all that, then I recommend reading Robert Venditti's Green Lantern run for that. Detective Comics issue 23.1, written by Derek Fridolfs with art by Javier Pina. This tie-in focuses on Poison Ivy during the events of Forever Evil, where she sees that the city is being taken over by criminals, and she's wandering her way through. Her plants are slowly taking over the city. She sees criminals ransacking the streets, and also just regular people on the streets, and she just starts killing everyone. Like, there are people who are falling in love with her because of her pheromones, and she just touches them with poison ivy and kills them. Gangs try and attack her, and she uses her pheromones to make them attack each other. And then she sees a woman being attacked by her abusive husband because he wants custody over his daughter, and he's not allowed to see his daughter because he's an abusive father and stuff. And this reminds Poison Ivy, Pamela, of her own backstory, where when she was a kid, her father was abusive to her mother, and he would use flowers to buy back her forgiveness. So he taught Pamela that flowers can be used to control people. And so Pamela uses her vines against this abusive father and tangles him up and says that the vines are going to crush him to death slowly, and that the wife and daughter can watch it happen or leave and let him die, or they could try and free him, but if they do, the vines will probably kill them too, because it will kill anyone that gets close to them. So Pamela really getting like an anti-hero edge right now. She then wanders into the botanical gardens, where she sees a bunch of people setting fire to the plants, and obviously that doesn't sit right with her. So what she does is she entangles these guys with vines and pulls them into the ground, saying that they are stamping on things that they believe are weaker than them, things that can't fight back, and that they are now going to be buried underneath these plants, never to be seen again. She then starts walking through the park, where a gang tries to attack her for being on their turf, and she just fights back against them, shoots a bunch of spikes into two of them, killing them, and then the last guy, she conjures up a bunch of grass monsters and kills this guy with them, and is like, well, you know, I killed you because you're on my turf. We then see a couple of guys in a police truck who almost hit Pamela, and we get a flashback of how her father was arrested after he murdered her mother, and all he got was life in prison, I think. He didn't get executed or anything, which is what she wanted. So she believes that the system failed her. So she went in to visit her father. She kisses him because she has poison on her lips that she created, and he died in his cell hours later. And in the present day, the cops are asking her to help them get out of their truck because they've crashed their truck, and she's used her vines to lock the wheels so they can't back out or anything. And she refuses to help these guys because the justice system failed her, so why would she help them? And she said that the poison that she used on her father took hours to kill him, but in present day, she's figured out how to make it kill someone in seconds. So these cops are going to die from her kiss in seconds, because she kissed them, and then they die. After this, Pamela attacks Wayne Enterprises, and the reason she attacks Wayne Enterprises is because many years ago, she came to Wayne Enterprises to sell Bruce Wayne her pheromone technology. She said, oh, you can use it in order to force people to buy your technology and stuff. And Bruce Wayne is like, that is really unethical. You're talking about mind controlling people. We're not going to do that. And Pamela is like, okay, I'll take my business elsewhere then. And Bruce Wayne is like, no, you can't do that. The contract you signed all of your stuff over to us. So we own all your technology now, and we're going to just take it away from you, and I'm not going to do anything with it. In fact, I'm going to keep it away from the public because it's highly unethical, and I disagree with it. And so this is kind of what creates this rivalry between Pamela and Wayne Enterprises, and she doesn't even know that the guy she's talking to is Batman. She tries to steal back all of her research, but in the process of being taken down by the security guards, she gets doused in her own chemicals, and that's what turns her into Poison Ivy. So she's come back to Wayne Enterprises to grab all of her research and then blow up the building once she leaves. It's after that she states that Batman isn't here to protect Gotham City, so now she is free to rule Gotham City and make it how it should be. A forest. And so she starts using her plants to overgrow all the buildings and everything. Gotham will provide the topsoil for what can grow out of it. Its concrete jungle replaced by a real one. And without Batman, without any obstacles to get in my way, my Green Kingdom will flourish. And that's the end of the tie-in. Again, another pretty good tie-in. So far, the tie-ins for this one, they haven't been as good as the Two-Face one or the Killer Croc one in the previous video, but I think they're pretty good. They're pretty fun. It's fun seeing these Batman villains and also Black Hand, what they were getting up to during Forever Evil. It was fun seeing Poison Ivy attack criminals and stuff, or attack everyone. Like, this really drives home the fact that she just hates humans in general and is only a plant person. And all the things that she is doing directly tie into her own history and her own backstory. This is a great example of mixing present-day storytelling with the backstory. Detective Comics issue 23.3, written by Peter J. Tomasi, with art by Simon Kudranski. This tie-in focuses on Scarecrow. It's basically just a prologue to the Arkham War miniseries that we will be covering eventually. The different Batman villains have taken over Gotham City after Forever Evil started, and for a build-up to that miniseries, this is pretty damn boring, if I do say so. You can pretty much skip over this tie-in entirely, because all it is Scarecrow just wandering around from territory to territory, talking to the villains, and saying, hey, so Blackgate Prison is starting an uprising, and they're gonna come and they're gonna try and attack us. So it's gonna be the Arkham guys against the Blackgate guys. And so he's just like going to Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, the Riddler, and just warning them about Blackgate, and sometimes they listen to him, sometimes they don't. The entire time he also has a guard with him, whose name is Hudson, and Hudson agreed to help him because Scarecrow promised to help him get over his fear of heights. And yeah, that's all that really happens in this. We see him talk with Killer Croc. We get a little bit of a tie-in to that Killer Croc tie-in that we read, where Killer Croc has no interest in taking part in this war. He just wants to remain in the sewers and hang out with his people. And at the very end of the tie-in, Scarecrow tells Poison Ivy that the one responsible for the Blackgate uprising is Bane. So Bane is trying to take over Gotham City and fight against the Arkham Asylum people, and he's teaming up with everyone in Blackgate. So that is going to be the premise of Arkham War. Arkham Asylum versus Bane and Blackgate. And at the end of the book, Scarecrow kills Hudson. He cures him of his fear of heights by dropping him from the top of a building. So Hudson falls to his death. And Scarecrow's like, see there, you're cured of your fear. And once we fight against Bane and we defeat him, Gotham will be mine. And that's it. Really not a good tie-in. Just kind of didn't really have anything to say other than just boring dialogue of Scarecrow just being like, oh yeah, Blackgate's uprising, they're gonna fight us, they're gonna try and take over the city, blah blah blah. I don't really like Scarecrow being the spokesperson for the Secret Society, like him being the guy that goes around and gives people coins and stuff, because it means that we don't get any fun Scarecrow dialogue of him being batshit crazy. There's none of that. He just talks like a regular dude throughout this issue. It's hard to even remember that this is Scarecrow, especially because of his shitty character design, where he's just a guy wearing a potato sack on his head, because this is clearly inspired by The Dark Knight. You know, I like the Dark Knight version of Scarecrow, but his design should not be used in a comic book. You gotta go with the classic Scarecrow, like, he needs to have the Scarecrow hat and the Scarecrow uniform and everything. Also, where's the giant scythe? But while that tie-in was pretty disappointing, the next tie-in is actually quite fun. I can't wait to explain this one. Detective Comics 23.4, it is a Man-Bat tie-in written by Frank Thierry with art by Scott Eaton. We begin in Gotham Square Park, where a bunch of innocent civilians are just hanging out in the park. Kirk Langstrom is narrating over it because he has been watching the park, expecting it to be attacked by something, but 2 days have gone by and nothing has come until now. The She-Bat, Francine Langstrom, his wife, attacks this park, grabs a kid, and the only person capable of stopping her is Kirk himself, who takes a serum, he transforms into Man-Bat, and fights Francine. This isn't the first time he's fought Francine. He saves the kid, he drops the kid off. Last time he fought Francine, he got the shit beaten out of him, but this time, it's gonna end differently. He fights against her, kicks her in the face, grabs her, flies down, smashes into the ground with her, and she transforms back to normal and realizes that it's Kirk. He's like, oh my god, Kirk, you've used the serum on yourself, but it's a mixture of your serum and my serum? That's really dangerous. Yes, right now the serum is giving you all this power, but you don't know what it will cost you. Don't you laugh at me, you of all people, don't you dare, or you're what? And that's when the police arrive, and so Kirk leaves while she is arrested by the police. She gets put on trial, she's got life in prison, possibly even the death sentence, but Kirk realizes that he doesn't really care, and he thinks that's a bit odd. It's like, maybe she's right about the serum. Maybe it is affecting me, because I should care about my wife being put in prison and getting the death sentence. Regardless of all the bad things she's done to me, I should somewhat care about that, and yet I don't. Instead, I only care about this serum. And he takes the serum, he's like, I gotta perfect it. She said that the serum will control me, but it won't, because it is my serum. I will control it. And he becomes a Knight of Vengeance. He becomes a replacement for Batman, because obviously this is going on during Forever Evil, so Batman is gone. So Kirk Langstrom puts it on his shoulders to protect Gotham City against crime. So he starts finding innocent people, getting attacked by criminals, and attacking those criminals. And he's like, oh, you're all safe. You'll be fine. And when he leaves, it's revealed that he has killed all of these criminals. Not just killed them, but dismembered them. Cut their heads off, their arms off. It's pretty gruesome. And as time goes on, we see that he's starting to lose control and become addicted to his serum. The second time he goes out, he attacks a bunch of criminals. He kills them, and he gets shot at by the police, and he's like, what are you doing? I'm a hero! And Commissioner Gordon's like, really? Tell that to him. And we see a guy who has been cut up on the ground, and so the police start shooting at him, and this is where Kirk kind of goes over the edge, and he's like, oh, the cops are stupid, dirty, jealous, bad cops. He even picks up a cop car and throws it, so yeah, he's really going over that line now. He's no longer a hero, he's now an anti-hero, bordering on villain, or just straight up villain. He's picking up cops, he's dropping them from the sky to their death, but he still believes himself to be a hero. He still believes that he is doing the right thing. And then we come back to the park that we saw at the beginning of the issue, and this time it's Kirk attacking the civilians. He grabs a woman, flies away with her, and we don't get to see what happens after this, but it seems like he's going down the villainous road. However, I don't think it's as simple as that, because this would lead directly into a story arc going on in Detective Comics, which answers the question, is Man-Bat a hero or a villain or somewhere in between? But we're not going to find out about that because we're not reading Detective Comics, but this was a fun tie-in. I really enjoyed it. It was great seeing Kirk Langstrom become Man-Bat. It feels like this is supposed to be his origin story. It's interesting that his wife became a Man-Bat creature before he did. But yeah, even though it was just one issue and we didn't really get a lot of time to see it happen, it was cool seeing him go from hero to villain over the course of this. And it's kind of similar to the Two-Face tie-in, but it just, ends with him becoming a villain, unlike Two-Face, where it was all about the coin. Wonder Woman issue 23.1, written by John Ostrander with art by Victor Ibanez. This is the Cheetah tie-in where during Forever Evil, Cheetah has been recruited by the Secret Society. They want her help with some of the stuff that they're doing, but she's like, I'm too busy right now, I'm dealing with personal stuff. The personal stuff that she is dealing with is the life of her secret identity, Barbara Minerva, because Cheetah kind of acts like she has two personalities. She's got Barbara Minerva and then there is Cheetah. She's trying to kill everyone in Barbara Minerva's life so that Barbara Minerva dies once and for all, and Cheetah is able to take over completely. And so, because she's been murdering people related to Barbara, the military has been sent after her. So she starts off by fighting all of these guards, slicing their throats. She rips out their hearts and eats them. It's kind of a ritual that she has for the goddess of the hunt, because Barbara grew up in a cult owned by her aunt. And her aunt was big into the Amazons and basically learned all the wrong messages from them. Started a cult where they worshipped the goddess of the hunt, and it's only women, and if men ever come in, they'll slaughter and kill them all. It's pretty horrible. And she forced Barbara to go through this ritual where she had to plunge this special ritual knife into her chest, and that's what drew out Cheetah and transformed her into Cheetah. One of the people on her list that she is trying to kill is her aunt, because her aunt is directly related to Barbara, and that is the final thread connected to Barbara's life. Meanwhile, a man named Mark Shaw is tasked with stopping Barbara, and in order to do that, he needs to track down Barbara's family. So he's been going and finding family members. Unfortunately, he's been finding them dead. Like, he found Barbara's dad and her dad's family all murdered, and so now he's going to talk to her aunt to see if he can get any answers and any help to fight against Barbara. But when he heads over to the cult, he gets taken in, and they refuse to help him because they care about Barbara and they think that she's not even going to try and hurt any of them because she grew up there. So why would she? Her aunt is like, yeah, why would she try and attack me when I raised her? And instead of letting Mark go, they decide to turn against him and try to hunt him down as part of a ritual for the goddess of the hunt. So Mark is told to run for his life, then they will hunt him down. But growing up, you know, in his younger years, Mark was known as the Manhunter. So he's got all sorts of hunting skills and assassin skills himself. So he hides in a marshy area where he leaps out at the aunt and tries to attack her, but she knocks him back with her bow. He leaps out again to try and get her, but she shoots him in the shoulder with one of her arrows, and then he smashes into her, and she's like, wow, you're a lot stronger than I was expecting. You've got really good skills. But unfortunately, this is the end. Oh, goddess of the hunt, I dedicate this hunt, this kill, to thee. And that is when Cheetah comes in and knocks her out, and she's like, what are you doing? And Cheetah is like, it's not the man I'm hunting, auntie. It's you. Me? You are my last tie with Barbara Minerva. With your death, Barbara Minerva also dies. The hunt ends. Recognize the knife, Barbara? That which made you can unmake you. Come if you dare. And so they fight each other, and immediately, it's not really a fight because Cheetah just chomps down on her neck and then rips into her, pulls out her heart, and eats her heart. And so, she kills her auntie, and now she is no longer Barbara Minerva. Mark is like, I'm here to arrest you, Barbara. And Cheetah is like, I'm not Barbara anymore. She's dead. She's gone. And luckily for Mark, his life is saved by Warp, because Warp shows up and is like, Cheetah, the Secret Society needs you. And also, Cheetah wasn't really interested in killing Mark anyway because he's injured and it wouldn't be as fun. It wouldn't be a fair hunt. And so she warns him that the day will come that they will fight again, and they will fight to the death, and he will be the one that dies. And Mark's pretty confident about it. He's like, yeah, you won't look forward to the hunt by the time it comes. That's a promise, monster. And as far as I know, there's no real continuation to this story, unfortunately. There's no story of Mark Shaw versus Cheetah, they promptly forget about this afterward. Overall, I found this tie-in to be pretty interesting. I'm not really familiar with the New 52 version of Cheetah, so it was cool to be able to see her origin story and to also see her face a character like Manhunter. I've actually talked about Mark Shaw, aka the Manhunter, before on the channel ages ago, back when I was making videos that just aren't as good as these ones. They were audio format and stuff. It was more like a podcast, and in those videos, it was the Millennium event, I'm pretty sure. It was in one of the Millennium videos that I did ages ago. He was in that, I'm pretty sure. Mark Shaw, aka the Manhunter, was in that because that event was all about the Manhunters, who were partially based on a human Manhunter, or the human Manhunters were based on the Manhunter. I don't know, it was real confusing. I don't remember any of that stuff. It happened so long ago, but it was cool to see that character come up again in this. I was not expecting to see him again. And who knows, maybe we'll see him again in the future. I don't know what stories or events he shows up in. And so we make it to the final solo tie-in of Forever Evil, Batman issue 23.3, written by Frank Thierry, with art by Christian Douce. This is a Penguin tie-in, and while it doesn't tie into Forever Evil much at all, in fact, it's not even made clear whether or not it even takes place during Forever Evil. I doubt it, because Gotham is normal. Like, the Joker and stuff aren't running around like they are during Forever Evil. It's more of just a solo story about the Penguin, but it's pretty good, and that's why I've decided to keep it in the video. The Penguin is obviously the owner of the Iceberg Lounge, and he talks about the fact that people come to his casino, they win lots of money, and he's fine with that. He's fine with people genuinely winning money if they're lucky enough. What he isn't fine with is people coming to his Iceberg Lounge and cheating in order to win his money. And that's what a bunch of illusionists do. They come to his lounge, they cheat, they win a bunch of money, and he stops them and tells them to leave the lounge, and if they don't leave, they will regret it. But one of these guys has the balls to stand up against Penguin and says that this guy named the Emperor Penguin had recently taken over the Penguin's territory, and it was only with the help of Batman that he was able to win it back. But Batman is gone, and so it's not like the Penguin's going to be able to do anything. They're like, yeah, you can't stop us now. If some other guy took over your territory, what are you going to do to us? One of Penguin's guards tries to grab his gun, but Penguin tells him to stop, and he meets these three outside himself and kills them all. He blows one down with his umbrella gun, and then he pulls out a knife and slashes one of their throats, and then he strangles the final one, and then he tells his assistant Lark to find their families and dispose of them. Anyone who is related to these people. And it's all over the news, and somebody that learns about this is a man named Carter Winston. He is the governor of Gotham City, and he declares that he's going to stop Penguin once and for all. But Penguin isn't afraid, and Lark is like, why aren't you afraid of this? And Penguin says it's because Carter is actually putting on a show, because they are friends. They've known each other for years. Their families have been friends for years. Carter protected him whenever he got bullied when they were children. So he's just putting on a show to make people think that he's actually going to do something when it really isn't. And he's actually got dinner with Carter later to prove how close they are as friends. So he meets up with Carter to have dinner, and Carter explains that he wasn't putting on a show. He's actually putting an end to Penguin's deals because he's gone too far. As far as Carter is shown to be in this issue, he seems to be a good guy. Like, at first he was kind of looking out for Penguin, and he let some things slide, but now Penguin is just going way too far. He's killing people, he's murdering, he's causing Gotham to be a cesspool, and he's had enough of it, and he wants to stop Penguin. But obviously, nobody gets in the way of Oswald Cobblepot. So Oswald pours a couple of glasses of alcohol, and Carter wakes up later, he's been drugged, and immediately he thinks Penguin drugged him, but Penguin says that he didn't drug him. Obviously, he's lying. He gaslights Carter into thinking that he maybe was drugged by somebody else. Somebody spiked his drinks. He also gaslights him into thinking that he has murdered his assistant, Miss Collins. They turn the lights on, and he's just covered in blood, and the bed is covered in blood, and her body is on the bed, and they say that she's headless, right? They say that she's missing her head because he killed her, and he shows Carter footage of him coming into the room hopped up on venom, because according to Oswald, Carter has an addiction to venom, so he's gaslighting him into thinking that, and that he killed Miss Collins. And also ate her head. That's right, he says that. He says that Carter has eaten her head. And Carter is obviously not falling for any of this. Like, obviously she is dead, but he knows for a fact that he didn't kill her, that this is all Oswald framing him. He's like, oh yeah, that's a low for you, Oswald, framing me. And Oswald says that this will all remain a secret if Carter just stays in his place and doesn't get in his way. And he says that this is my city, this is Penguin City, which is a bit funny because it's like, does he truly believe that this is his city? Like, whenever he wants to, Batman just breaks into the Iceberg Lounge and makes Penguin shit himself and do whatever he wants. Like, he comes in and he gets Penguin to give him information and stuff whenever he needs it. So yeah, this is definitely not Penguin's city. I guess he's only saying that because Batman's not here right now. After this, Carter goes on live television. He says that sometimes the bullies get it right, throwing back to when Oswald was being bullied, and then he shoots himself. And that's it. Carter dies, and Penguin orders Lark to get the biggest bouquet of flowers possible and take it to send it to Carter's funeral. And he says that Carter foolishly allowed himself to make the same mistake that everybody else made. Never underestimate the Penguin, because I will always have the last word. And that is it. What a insane issue to end this on, but that is the final solo tie-in of Forever Evil. After this, the only tie-ins we have left are the mini-series tie-ins, which is what we're going to start covering next week. Next week, we are doing Rogue's Rebellion. That is the next one that we are doing. So look forward to that. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next week. Have a good one.